I thought I was going to win a lot more titles, but I haven't, and who knows why. The best feeling ever, you know. I was so nervous, I was just thinking, I was watching in the back room. Come on, Damon.
Will you ever shave the beard, or is it here to stay? Simon, thank you for inviting us to your den, your house in Hampshire. First things first, how are you and how are things in 2024?
I'm really good, thanks, and things are going pretty good in 24. Been practicing a lot, apart from the last month or so, which I've had a bad foot again, so I've actually stopped. But I've been playing better without the practice.
Well, one thing that you have done very well over the last 20 years now is make this legacy that will probably be felt in not only Australian darts, but world darts for the next century or centuries. Take us back to around 2002, 2003, before you made your first appearance in a World Championship, because a lot of people tend to forget your first World Championship appearance was in 2003, the year that John Part won.
Yeah, I got married in 2000, and then it all sort of changed from there. I moved from Sydney to Brisbane, and my father-in-law started coaching me, like just helping out and like tell me what I was doing wrong, what to do, you know, some great practice routines and things. And from then on, my averages started going up every single like week, month, and by the end of a couple of years, instead of throwing 24 averages, I was up, you know, close to 30, and started winning things then, which was wonderful, obviously.
Around about that time, and this is well before you've made your impact in Australian darts. That's around about the time that Tony David won Lakeside. Yeah. Just how big an effect did that have on Australian darts at the time?
Yeah, that had a massive effect on darts. You know, we finally had a world champion, and people looked up to him, you know, not just as a player, but, you know, for advice and stuff. Even myself, like, I thought this guy was the greatest thing I'd ever seen at darts because he won that. And we were actually pairs partners at that time. We'd only just played one tournament together, which we won, and unfortunately after that we never played again. But, you know, he was great for Australian darts.
He was great for Australian darts, but if we go a little bit further back, you and I have spoken in the past about the importance of Graham Hunt winning the World Masters and becoming the first world champion of sorts as an Aussie.
Yeah.
Just how much of an impact did Graham have?
Yeah, Graham had a massive impact as well. I was only quite young when he did that, so I was just coming into darts. But we also had, not another world champion, but I'm going to mention Russell Stewart, who I idolised as well. He was the best player, like, I think Australia's ever had.
I wouldn't disagree with you. When I made my first World Championship appearance, I came over here with Rusty. And when you've idolised someone like I have with Rusty over the years, having to put him to bed one night at an exhibition, it certainly was an experience. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Tell us about what it was like flying over for the Circus Tavern for the first time, because you must have felt quite nervous going into that experience.
I was really nervous. I did not know what to expect. I'd just seen the darts on the TV for many, many years, and I wanted to be in it. I believed I was good enough to be there, and I'll tell you what, that first game, I was so nervous. My whole body was shaking. That's how nervous I was.
Paul Williams was your first opponent back in 2003, and he was quite an established player at English level and international level at the time. What were your thoughts going into that game?
Yeah, I didn't really know anything about Paul Williams. It was just a name to me, and you know, going into the match, I was always expected to win, but I lost the first set, and I thought, oh my God. I walked off stage, and luckily Russ Bray was refereeing my match, and he just said, just calm down, you'll be right. And from then on, when I went back out after the break, I won the rest of the match, 3-1.
After that, you've got a small matter of a PDC world number 1 in Peter Manley.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that this is the game that really announced Simon Whitlock to the world of darts. Yeah. Do you think that's the case?
I'm not sure, but I went into that game really confident. I thought, I can beat Peter Manley. I've watched him on TV. I know how good my game was then. I thought I fully expected to win that match, and it probably did launch me a bit.
Richie Burnett came next, and I'm sure you spent a lot of time in practice rooms with Richie over the years, and I'm sure you've got some great stories about Richie. But moving out of that championship, your decision was to then focus predominantly on the BDO championship for the next 5 years. Can you explain why that was the case?
I think it was the right way to go then, because we were playing all the world qualifiers to do that way, and it was easier to play in 5 or 6 events rather than just one event to qualify for the PDC at that stage. So yeah, I chose to go that way, and I think that was a great move as well. I had 5 great years in the BDO, made a final, so there were some great memories.
The qualifying regime for getting to Lakeside would have been about the Australian Grand Masters in Canberra, the Australian Masters in Geelong, and these kind of tournaments. Whereas the Dart Players Australia circuit hadn't really kicked off to its full strength at that point. Do you think that was a big decision?
Yeah, I think it was just the winner of the Oceanic got the card into the thing, and I missed out one year, so I just decided to do the other way because I was playing all the events for the BDO back then.
Your first PDC title came in 2010. Do you remember much about it?
2010. Was that at Wigan, maybe? Was it Wigan?
Well, I can tell you that it did come in 2010, and do you know how many games you have to win to get a Players' Championship victory now? It's 7.
Yep.
You had to win 8.
Yes.
Because your day, you had to play a prelim as well, because it was pre-tour card, of course.
Yeah. I think I was 5-0 down in that game as well. Yeah, and I think I beat Colin Lloyd in the final, is that correct?
Gary Anderson.
Or was it?
In the final.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different one.
But you've had quite an incredible amount of success over the last 15 years. But I want to take people back to the World Final in the PDC. The BDO final that you had with Mark Webster obviously was a huge occasion for you and for Webster. But as far as Australian darts is concerned, my opinion has always been, and this was after I'd won the Players' Championship at the Circus Tavern, but your impact in 2010 from the World Final onwards, just tell everybody watching this what that was like for Australia, because we know that the delay in watching PDC darts was about 6 months on Foxtel.
Right.
People were watching the World Championship in July. They were watching the Premier League in the winter. We watched everything in delay. After you made the PDC World Final, everything was live. Because of you, everybody got it as it happened. That impact is still being felt right now. Did you know that?
I did at the time, but I had forgotten about it. But thinking back, it was like, yeah, this is great. Everyone could watch Premier League live and all the other events. It was great.
What are your lasting memories of that World Championship? Because I remember your quarterfinal with James Wade being an amazing game of darts.
Yeah.
And are there any other experiences apart from the final that you really remember about that run?
Yeah, just playing Barney when I was behind. I got behind against Barney, and I was really nervous in that game because I knew if I won that, I was in the final, and I was expecting to play Phil as well. So, yeah, I was just like, come on, just dig in. And I pretty much bluffed my way through the end of that. I just pretended I felt amazing, even though I felt, I don't know, tired and nervous. It was a bit of a bluff, really.
Around about that time, you decided to locate yourself in the south of England. At that point in time, it was the Isle of Wight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where Keegan Brown's from.
Yeah, I was with Bob Anderson, and yeah, he was a friend of mine. He said, "Come and stay here," so I did, and then things didn't pan out. It was really difficult travelling from there to all the pro tours, getting the ship across, and that was difficult. So then I decided to move over here toward Louisville, where my manager lived like 2 streets from here, and that was just the best move as well because it's a lovely area. Good people, and I was close to my manager who pretty much looked after me ever since.
Just what kind of an impact has Jason had on your life? Because we know Jason has managed some of the biggest names in the sport, but what kind of an impact has he had on your life?
Well, he basically runs my life for me because I'm terrible at, but banking, I can't do any of that rubbish stuff. So he makes my life really easy. Like he organises sponsors, exhibitions, pays all my bills for me, and by having a manager who does that just makes my life just so easy.
Does that give you the freedom to do what you need to do to be the player that you want to be for the rest of your career?
Yeah, exactly. He's earned me a lot of money, I've earned him a lot of money, and that's just made life a lot easier, you know.
Your last PDC title to this point is the World Cup in 2022.
Yeah.
And you and I both know about World Cup Heartache from 2012.
Yes.
We were both very close to getting that first World Cup win for Oz.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me and tell everybody else what it was like when Damon got over the line in 2022. What was the initial emotion?
Just the best feeling ever, you know. I was so nervous, I was just thinking, I was watching in the back room, come on Damon, you've got to get this, because I really did not want to play go on price. I was getting pretty tired by the end of the day then, and I had a great feeling that Damon was going to fix it, so we didn't have to go the last rubber.
Well, you won it for Australia, and in the background we've just heard, was that a cockerel? Now,
Yeah.
You've got a lot of animals on your property, and I think everybody would love to know how many you've got.
How many animals? I've got loads. 2 dogs, I've got 7 chickens, I think 10 guinea pigs now. There was 2 born 2 days ago. I've got fish, I've got a snake, a gecko. Yeah, did I say 2 dogs?
You did say 2 dogs.
Too many.
Do you have any favourites?
Oh, the dogs, of course. The chickens are great too, you know. Fresh eggs are really lovely.
I want to take you back a few years, because you and I have played golf together.
Yeah.
On many occasions, sometimes locally to here, but once we played in Spain. And do you remember a time when you lost your ball to the right-hand side because you sliced it pretty wildly? And before the ball had even hit the floor, you had reloaded and done it again.
Yeah.
You didn't want to reload for a third time, but you went looking for the balls. Do you remember what you found when you were looking for them?
A snake, I think.
You did find a
Yeah,
snake.
I found several that day. Not just one.
Do you remember the fountain where we were in, I think it was the front nine of, it may have been Almenara, next to Valderrama in Spain. And you went to the fountain and you saw a frog and a snake ate the frog.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do, yeah. I know, crazy things.
Well, the things that you see when you're on tour with some friends, right?
Yeah, I remember when I told you I was going to drive that hole too, and I did.
Yeah.
That par 4.
Yeah, I think it was you and Aaron Monk were trying to outdrive each other all day, and that was just pure entertainment
That
for
was
all
fun.
of us. Back to the darts just briefly.
Yes.
You have won lots of PDC titles. Back in 2012, when you won the European Championship, and your sole European Tour title in the Dutch Masters, where we were in the final.
Yeah.
If someone had come up to you at that point, at the height of your form and success, to what we know to this point, if someone had said that that European Championship and that European Tour title would be the only ones you would win up until 2024, would you have believed them?
No, definitely not. I thought I was going to win a lot more titles, but I haven't, and who knows why. I mean, there's so many good dart players. I mean, Phil's ruined a lot of people's lives at darts, and yeah, I can blame him for a lot of that.
Do you remember much about that first European Tour win? Because I know I said that you and I were in the final, but I was awful. You were brilliant. But I distinctly remember who you played in the first round. Do you remember who you played?
I can't remember.
Per Larsen of Denmark. And he hit you with everything. He really was on fire that day, but it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And it was in Newland, in the Netherlands. And it was the Dutch Darts Masters in 2012. And you were European champion and Dutch Darts Masters champion at the same time. But I'm with you. If someone had said to me that they would be the only 2 European crowns that he would win, I'd say you've got to be having a laugh. Because for me, at that time, you were the best player in the world. Did you feel that way?
I felt I was up there, like top 4. You know, Phil's always going to be number 1 to me and the best. Apart from now, there's some new blood in town. But
How does that feel, knowing that people of the age of 17 up towards the age of maybe 26, 27, they're really starting to take the game over? Does it make you feel proud that you've laid the groundwork for these guys to have these opportunities?
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's great to see, and if anyone says it's not, then they're crazy, because this is a new era, and these young lads are just ridiculous. They hardly miss anything.
Where we are, we've talked about the animals, but what has been talked about before is just how welcoming you have been to other people in your home.
Yeah.
Tell me about some of the players that have stayed here and thrived because you've given them that base when they've come to England.
Corinne Hammond, the ladies player, she stayed here for like 5 years with me and my family, and we helped her out, and she did really well in the ladies. Gigi, obviously, Glenn Mathers, what a great guy. He stayed for 2 years before he moved his family over. Unfortunately, he's had to go back. But I've had, a lot of friends from Australia stay here, and even other countries just welcome them in and make life a bit easier for them.
In your career, you've won in quite a few countries, both in BDO, WDF and PDC. Do you know how many it is?
I'm not sure. I'd say maybe about a dozen.
What I found out is of the titles that are documented, you've won in 8 countries.
8.
So we've got Germany, the Netherlands, England, many times, Austria, you won at Salzburg, Players' Championship over there, Ireland, one of your most recent titles, Australia, of course, which you've got most of your titles in, New Zealand. Do you know the other one?
Japan.
Just like that.
Is that only 8? I thought it was more.
How can you ever forget that you won in Japan? I don't think you can.
That was weird.
Tell me about winning in Japan. What was that like?
That was difficult. I mean, the boards are really close over there. Yeah, what can I say? Yeah, it was just difficult. It's only best of 7, I think, all the way through the final. So
just a couple of general questions, because we know that you have affiliations with New South Wales and Queensland.
Yeah.
Your hometown is known as Hornsby.
Yes.
But you obviously live in Hampshire now, and they have both of those on your database online. State of origin.
Yeah.
Which is a very famous rugby match. Do you go for Queensland or New South Wales?
Always New South Wales.
I've always wanted to ask you that question.
Yeah, of course, I was born there.
Yeah. And when it comes to other sports, we know that you're a big cricket fan. We know you've had, we spent a bit of time at the MCG after doing an exhibition at Etihad Stadium once, which was great fun. But tell me about growing up with cricket. How important is cricket to you?
Cricket's massive. I absolutely love that sport. I did play for 3 years, which I succeeded quite well. I was an opening bowler. I was 30 kilos lighter then than what I am now, so I could run. But bit of a slogger with the old bat. But God, what a great game to play and to watch. Now we got the T20 and stuff.
Favourite players growing up and maybe currently as well?
Oh, Warney, Brett Lee, of course, the man who sent me a shirt. Glenn McGrath, all of them. They're all absolutely amazing, all the Aussie players.
And a lot of them were darts fans, right? A bit like a lot of the English cricketers, like Alistair Cook and James Anderson, heavily into the sport because it was something they could do when they're not actively playing. And Brett Lee has actually sent you a shirt, which is on your wall in this establishment, and it says, "To the Wizard, best wishes from your favourite doppelganger." Because people think you look like Brett Lee without the beard.
Yeah, take the beard away and a few wrinkles. We do look quite similar.
This is probably a question that a lot of fans have asked you in the past. Will you ever shave the beard, or is it here to stay?
I think it's staying. I don't know if I can get rid of it. I don't know what I look like anymore underneath, so it'll be a bit of a shock.
A few years ago, I'm not sure if you were aware of this, and it was a little bit of hearsay and more of a rumour than anything else, but people said there was a bounty on your ponytail of £10,000. Did you know about that?
No.
We were told that if someone could get your ponytail, they would auction it for 10 grand.
I
did say to these people, there's no way you're getting within 100 metres of this guy. That ponytail has a story, doesn't it?
It does. It's been around a long time.
You kept it because you didn't want to cut your hair as a youngster. That's what I heard.
That's how it all developed. I mean, my mum used to cut my hair. It's a long story. Go back to when I'm 16, and she cut my hair so bad I thought I can do a better job of that. So ever since, I've cut my own hair.
You are probably the most recognisable dart player in the world because of the way you look, right?
Yeah, I get recognised from the front and the back.
Have you ever been on holiday and been recognised by just a random person?
Oh yeah, everywhere I go. Nearly every day. Like, I go to the shops, so people, they just know me.
So in this area, you're just like someone who's very well known.
Yeah.
We know that with stardom and celebrity, it's difficult to balance that with having a private life. But have there been times where you just wish that you couldn't be recognised?
Yeah, of course, sometimes, when you're not having a good day or something, like sometimes people will come up to me and go, "Oh, are you the wizard?" And I'll go, "No, I just look like him," like, and they'll actually believe me sometimes. Yeah.
Do you remember in Germany when you had a bunch of fans who dressed like you?
Yeah, I do, yeah. The 3 wizards, or was there 4? I think it went down to 3 now.
There was a few of them.
Yeah, I had a picture with them. Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, that was really good.
Great fans.
On the broad spectrum of your career, which is far from finished, what you do from here is entirely up to you. Staying on tour is obviously something you want to do. The easy question to ask you is, do you have any unticked boxes for the rest of your PDC career?
I'd still like to win a singles world title, of course, and I'd love to be on tour with my boy, and that would do me.
You've been in World Cup teams facing brothers in the Hybrex boys.
Yeah.
Mason is an excellent dart player, and that's surely because of the tutelage of you. How hopeful are you for him to have a successful career after you, or maybe coinciding with you?
Yeah, I mean, that's my dream. I mean, he's definitely got the goods. He's winning local tournaments now. He's learning all the time. He's only 21, so he's got all the years in front of him. I mean, I was nowhere near as good as what he is at 21, so hopefully he's got a big future.
One of the things that a lot of people don't know about you at the start of your career is that you always used to wear the same trainers. So you had these Nike trainers, and you always wore them to darts.
Yeah.
But you found out that they didn't make them anymore, isn't that right?
Yeah.
And you searched to the ends of the earth to find another pair, didn't you?
Yeah.
What did you do when you couldn't get another pair?
I've got similar ones now, so... Okay. I mean, that could be why I've got a bad foot. I've got no idea, but yeah, they're comfy and all that, but they're not the same.
Just how important is that for anybody watching this who'd like to get an insight into how important a dart shoe is? People turn up with really uncomfortable looking loafers and smart looking shoes. Just how important is it that you're comfortable from the ground up?
Extremely important. I mean, you could be on your feet for 8-10 hours a day, so you have to be comfortable.
And you're still doing that, right?
Yeah.
You were telling me you played in Basingstoke at the weekend,
yeah.
And that was a tournament that was on for about 12 hours.
Yeah, from start to finish, by the time I got there and I left, 12 hours, and I was exhausted, and the old feet held up.
The last thing I want to touch on before we leave you in peace in your haven, people have put you into the media somewhat negatively about your creativity with equipment. I've seen you at Pro Tour events with stems made of lolly sticks. I've seen you with points made out of every single possible thing you can find on Amazon.
Yeah.
But what brought that about? Because at the start of your career, when you played the World Final against Phil Taylor in 2010, it all looked very conventional.
Yeah.
What made you go into trying to create your own stuff?
There was a couple of reasons. I mean, I went through a stage when my darts were going in the board and they were kicking down all the time, so I thought I needed something rougher so they wouldn't fall, like collapse down. And yeah, that started it all, basically. And I've always struggled with grip. I always had to rough my points up with a stone and stuff, and then I found these ones with a diamond coating on them. Put them in my darts, absolutely amazing. But they did damage the boards, and it was mainly unicorn boards. I don't know what happened to their boards, but they suddenly went soft and all the fibres started to fall out the boards and just pull out easy. So that's why I got, a lot of ridicule from people. And now we're with a different company, obviously, with Winmau, who I'm sponsored by, and they make a much better standard of board, and there's hardly any damage whatsoever.
You got a lot of criticism. However, there were lots of other people that benefited from your ingenuity with said equipment. You used points that were hexagonal from Allen keys.
Yeah.
Had it not been for that point, Max Hopp would not have won in Dublin in 2018 because you recommended those points to him, right?
I did, yes. I made him a set. First day he played with them, he won the tournament, so... Yeah, they were great points as well.
Did you get the invoice in the mail to him for the success?
I didn't even get a drink, I don't think.
Max.
He did give me a set of darts, so.
Oh, well, that's something, I guess.
Yeah.
Other people have benefited from this ingenuity too. Mickey Mansell, Chris Dobie, and Fallon Sherrick. They're all people who have used a more aggressive point. So do you think it's unfair that you seem to be the person who was criticised for that?
Yeah, but, you know, I probably did damage boards more than what they did, but half the reason why is because my darts were tapered like this, so when they went in the board together, they acted like tweezers, so you couldn't pull one dart out on its own. If you pulled them out like two together, it would pull them out like pulling hairs out, you know, acted like tweezers.
I've got one last question for you, and I've been saving this for the end because I've always wanted to know. I'm going to take you back to 2013, where you're playing Jamie Caven, and you are out of the game. You are so far behind that people are starting to write Jamie Caven's name into the next round. Now, I'm not going to talk about the comeback here, but there was something rumoured that happened in that comeback where you saw a fly on the outer ring of the board,
Yeah.
and at the moment you pinged the fly. Did that spark the comeback? Because that's what I've heard.
Well, I think that's when the whole thing changed. That fly landed on the surround, and I'd already thrown two darts, and I was miles behind in the leg. I thought, right, this fly's annoying me. I'm having a go at it. Anyway, I had a little chuckle to myself, and from then on I relaxed, and we all know what happened after that.
How are you feeling after that 146 checkout? Because it's become one of the most famous comeback checkouts in history of PDC darts.
Yeah, one of the best feelings ever. You think you're absolutely gone. Yeah, just great feeling, you know, what a great comeback.
And you were trying to defend the title as well,
I
weren't you?
was, yeah.
You were so defiant that you didn't want anybody to take that title off you. That's the feeling that a lot of people got from watching that.
Yeah, and you'll never see me give up in a match. Never ever have I given up.
Perfect way to end, Simon. Thanks for having us at your home, introducing us to your dogs and your office where we can see a multitude of points, trophies, memorabilia. We wish you all the best, and we will hopefully speak to you again sometime in the future with some more success.
No worries. Thank you, Paul.